The alarm started ringing at exactly 8 in the morning. Jake Morrison was drinking his coffee in the control room when every single screen around him went white. He had been working at the Space Station Control Center for 12 years, but he had never seen anything like this before. "What the hell is happening?" shouted his partner, Linda Foster, as she ran over to the main computer. All the satellites were sending the same signal. Every radio tower on Earth was broadcasting the same message. Even the internet was carrying the same transmission. Then the voice started speaking. It was clear and loud, like someone was standing right next to them. But this was not a human voice. It sounded too perfect, too calm. The voice spoke in English, first, then switched to Spanish, then Chinese, then Russian. It knew every language on Earth. "People of Earth," the voice said, "you have been chosen to join the Xerian Galactic Empire. Your planet has things we need. Your location is good for our plans. You have 72 hours to get ready. We are coming to take your world. If you fight us, we will destroy everything. This is your only warning." The message played for 3 minutes. Then everything went quiet. Jake stared at the screens. His hands were shaking. Linda was calling her boss on the phone, but her voice was barely a whisper. Neither of them knew what to say. Across the world, the same thing was happening. In Washington, President Helen Carter was in the middle of a meeting when her security team burst into the room. In London, the Prime Minister was eating breakfast, when every television in the country started showing the same message. In Moscow, Beijing, and every other capital city, world leaders were getting the same impossible news. We are not alone. And whoever was out there wanted to take our planet. Dr. Lisa Brooks was in her laboratory at NASA when her assistant ran in holding a tablet. "Doctor, you need to see this right now," he said, his face pale with fear. Lisa had spent her whole career studying the possibility of life on other planets. She had written books about what might happen if aliens ever contacted Earth, but she had never imagined it would happen like this. She watched the message 3 times. Each time, she noticed something new. The transmission was not coming from space. It was not coming from any satellite or radio tower. It was somehow being broadcast directly into every electronic device on Earth at the same time. The technology needed to do this was far beyond anything humans had ever built. "They got past every security system we have," she told her assistant. "They took control of our entire communication network without us even knowing they were there. This is not good." Meanwhile, at the Pentagon, General Paul Davis was dealing with the biggest crisis in military history. Every phone in the building was ringing. Reports were coming in from every country on Earth. The message was real. It was not a hoax or a mistake. Someone or something had just declared war on the entire human race. "Sir, we are getting calls from Russia, China, Britain, France, and everyone else," his aide reported. "They all want to know what we are going to do." General Davis looked at the map of the world on his wall. For the first time in his 30-year career, he did not know what to say. How do you fight an enemy you have never seen? How do you prepare for weapons you do not understand? How do you defend a planet when you do not even know where the attack will come from? The president arrived at the White House 30 minutes after the message ended. She had been visiting a school in Ohio when her Secret Service agents rushed her onto Air Force One. During the flight back to Washington, she spoke with world leaders on the phone. Everyone was asking the same questions. Everyone was just as confused and scared as she was. "Madam President," said her chief of staff, "we have confirmed that the message was received by every country on Earth. The United Nations is calling an emergency meeting. NATO wants to know our response. The military is asking for orders, President." Carter sat down at her desk and looked out the window. She could see people on the streets below, some running, some standing in groups talking, some just staring at the sky. The news was spreading fast. Soon everyone on Earth would know that aliens were real, and they were coming to take our world. Captain Nick Sullivan was on the deck of his aircraft carrier when the message came through. The USS Enterprise was in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, conducting training exercises with ships from Japan and Australia. When the alien message started playing over the ship's speakers, every sailor stopped what they were doing and listened. Nick had been in the Navy for 15 years. He had served in 3 wars and commanded one of the most powerful ships ever built. But as he listened to the alien voice, he felt something he had never felt before. He was scared. Not just for himself, but for his wife and children back home, in California, for his parents in Texas, for everyone he had ever known. "Captain," said his communications officer, "we are getting orders from the Pentagon. They want us to return to base immediately." But Nick was not listening. He was thinking about what the voice had said. 72 hours. That was 3 days. To prepare for something no human had ever faced before. 3 days to figure out how to fight an enemy with technology far beyond anything on Earth. Around the world, people were beginning to panic. In New York City, the stock market crashed within an hour of the message. In London, people were leaving the city in huge numbers, trying to get to the countryside. In Tokyo, the government was telling everyone to stay calm, but no one was listening. But not everyone was running away. In a small town in Colorado, a group of retired soldiers met at the local diner to talk about what they should do. In Detroit, factory workers started talking about how they could help build weapons to fight the aliens. In thousands of schools, teachers were trying to explain to children what was happening, while also trying to figure it out themselves. Dr. Brooks spent the rest of the day studying the alien message. She played it over and over again, looking for clues about who had sent it and how they had done it. The more she learned, the more worried she became. The technology used to send the message was hundreds of years ahead of anything humans had. If these aliens could take control of every electronic device on Earth without anyone noticing, what else could they do? As night fell across the planet, world leaders gathered for an emergency video conference. President Carter, the British Prime Minister, the Russian President, the Chinese Premier, and dozens of other leaders appeared on screens in the United Nations building in New York. "We need to work together," President Carter said to the group. "This is not about politics or old fights between countries. This is about the survival of the human race." For the first time in history, every nation on Earth agreed on something. They would stand together against the alien threat. But as they talked through the night, one question kept coming up again and again. How do you fight an enemy that is so much more advanced than you are? The aliens had given humanity 72 hours to prepare, but prepare for what? Nobody knew what these Zerions looked like. Nobody knew how many ships they had or what kind of weapons they carried. Nobody even knew why they wanted Earth. All they knew was that in less than 3 days, everything would change. The quiet little planet that had spent its entire history alone in the universe was about to discover that the galaxy was a much more dangerous place than anyone had ever imagined. The countdown had begun. The first day after the alien message was chaos. People were running everywhere. Some were trying to leave the big cities. Others were buying all the food and water they could find in stores. The phones never stopped ringing, and the internet was so busy that many websites stopped working. But something strange happened on the second day. People stopped running. They started working together. Commander Amy Phillips had never seen anything like it in her 20 years at the Pentagon. She was sitting in a room with generals and admirals from countries that had been enemies just 2 days ago. Russian General Boris Volkov was sharing his military plans with her. Chinese Admiral Liu Wei was offering to send his entire navy to help defend America. It was like the whole world had suddenly become one big team. "We have 48 hours left," General Davis told the group. "Every country needs to share everything they have. Weapons, soldiers, information, everything." The British general nodded. "Our submarines are already moving into position around your coasts. The French are sending their fighter jets to your air bases." For the first time in human history, every army on Earth was working together. Ships from different countries were sailing side by side. Pilots who spoke different languages were learning to fly together. Soldiers who had never met were making plans to fight together. Dr. Brooks had not slept for 36 hours. She was in her laboratory with scientists from around the world, all trying to understand the alien message. They had found something important hidden in the transmission. The aliens had accidentally included some of their own technology data when they sent the message. "Look at this," she said to Dr. Carl Stone, a physicist who had flown in from Germany. "The signal shows how they communicate with each other. They use something called quantum entanglement. It is like having a telephone that works instantly across any distance." Dr. Stone looked at the data on the computer screen. If we can understand how this works, maybe we can listen to their conversations. Maybe we can even block their communications. They had been working together for only 2 days, but already they had learned more about alien technology than anyone had ever imagined possible. The problem was time. They needed months to build anything useful, but they only had hours. Meanwhile, Captain Steve Parker was deep under the ocean in his submarine. He had received secret orders from the Pentagon that morning. His job was to place special devices on the ocean floor around the world. These devices were electromagnetic pulse weapons that could destroy electronic equipment. "Captain," said his first officer, "are you sure these will work against alien technology?" Steve looked out the small window of his submarine at the dark water around them. "Honestly, I have no idea. But we have to try something. If these aliens think they can just take our planet without a fight, they are going to learn something about humans they did not expect." His submarine was not alone. Under every ocean on Earth, submarines from different countries were doing the same job. They were creating a hidden network of weapons that the aliens would not see coming. On the surface, President Carter was getting ready to speak to the world again. Every television station and radio broadcast would carry her message. Even the internet would show her speech. She had written it herself, working all night to find the right words. Her advisors had told her to be careful. "Madam President," said her chief of staff, "maybe we should try to negotiate with them. Maybe we can make some kind of deal." But President Carter shook her head. "No deals, no surrender. These aliens think they can scare us into giving up our home. They are about to find out what happens when you threaten a human's family." In cities around the world, people were preparing for war in their own ways. Joe Martinez had been working in a car factory in Detroit just 3 days ago. Now he was teaching his neighbors how to make weapons and explosives. His group had grown from 5 people to over 200 in just 2 days. "Listen," he told the crowd gathered in the old warehouse. "We do not know what these aliens look like or how they fight. But we know how to make things. We know how to fix things. And we know how to break things when we need to." The warehouse was full of tools and materials that people had brought from their jobs. Welders, mechanics, electricians, computer programmers, and teachers were all working together. They were building traps, weapons, and communication devices. Most importantly, they were getting ready to fight for their neighborhood. The same thing was happening everywhere. In small towns and big cities, ordinary people were becoming soldiers. Farmers were learning to use military radios. Office workers were practicing with rifles. Grandmothers were making plans to hide food and medicine for the coming war. Dr. Stone finally had some good news. Working with Dr. Brooks and teams of scientists from 12 different countries, he had built a prototype weapon. It was not very big, just the size of a briefcase, but it could create a quantum disruption field that would interfere with alien communications. "We only have one," he told General Davis over a secure phone line. "And we do not know if it will work. But if we can get close enough to one of their ships, we might be able to cause some damage." General Davis looked at the map on his wall. Red pins showed where alien ships were expected to appear. Blue pins showed where human forces were waiting. "Doctor, we will get you close enough, just make sure that thing works." As the second day ended, President Carter stood in front of the cameras. She could see her reflection in the lens, but she was thinking about every person on Earth who would hear her words. She was thinking about children who were scared. She was thinking about soldiers who were getting ready to die. She was thinking about the future of the human race. "My fellow humans," she began, "in less than 24 hours we will face the greatest challenge in our history. An alien empire thinks they can take our world just by asking for it. They think we will be scared. They think we will give up." She paused and looked directly into the camera. "They are wrong. For thousands of years, humans have fought to protect their homes and families. We have survived ice ages, diseases, wars, and disasters. We have never given up, and we are not going to start now." Around the world, people stopped what they were doing to listen. In underground bunkers, families gathered around radios. On military bases, soldiers stood at attention. In hospitals, doctors and nurses took a break from treating panic attack victims to hear their president's words. The aliens gave us 72 hours to surrender, President Carter continued. Instead, we have used these hours to show them something they clearly do not understand about humans. When you threaten our home, we do not run away. We do not hide. We stand together and we fight back. She could see her advisors nodding behind the cameras. Around the world, world leaders were watching from their own secure locations. Everyone knew that the next day would change everything. We may not have their advanced technology, the president said, but we have something they do not have. We have the will to fight for our freedom. We have the courage to stand up to bullies, no matter how big they are, and we have each other. When the speech ended, something amazing happened. Instead of more panic, people started cheering. In the streets of New York, London, Tokyo, and Moscow, crowds gathered and began chanting, not in fear, but in defiance. The aliens had given humanity 3 days to prepare for surrender. Instead, humanity had spent those days preparing for the fight of their lives. Tomorrow, the Xerian Empire would learn that some species do not bow down to threats. Some species fight. The countdown continued, but now humans were not counting down to surrender. They were counting down to war. They came exactly when they said they would. At 8 in the morning on the third day, the sky above every major city on Earth began to shimmer like water. Then the ships appeared. Admiral Kate Nelson was standing on the bridge of the USS Defiance when the first alien vessel materialized above New York City. She had commanded ships for 22 years, but she had never seen anything like this. The alien ship was massive, stretching for miles across the sky like a floating city made of metal and lights. "My God," whispered her communications officer. "How many of them are there?" Kate looked at the radar screen. Red dots were appearing everywhere. Above London, Tokyo, Moscow, Beijing, Los Angeles, and dozens of other cities, alien ships were dropping out of hyperspace. The screen showed over 300 vessels, each one bigger than the largest aircraft carrier ever built by humans. "All ships, this is Admiral Nelson," she spoke into her radio. "This is it. Everyone stay calm and wait for my orders." Around the world, human forces were watching the same incredible sight. In the Pacific Ocean, Captain Sullivan stood on the deck of his aircraft carrier and counted the alien ships above him. In the Atlantic, submarine captain Steve Parker watched through his periscope as massive shadows passed overhead. In underground bunkers, President Carter and other world leaders stared at screens showing the alien fleet. The largest alien ship, a monster that looked like a floating mountain, moved slowly over Washington, D.C. Then it began to speak. The same perfect voice that had delivered the warning 3 days ago now filled the air above every city on Earth. "Humans of Earth," the voice said, "I am War Commander Zeth Cole of the Xerian Empire. Your 72 hours have ended. We see that you have prepared weapons and gathered your armies. This is foolish but expected from a primitive species." In the Pentagon, General Davis clenched his fists as he listened. Around him, officers from every branch of the military were watching the screens and waiting for orders. The general had spent 3 days planning for this moment. Now it was time to see if their plans would work. "You will surrender immediately," the alien commander continued. "Your weapons cannot harm our ships. Your soldiers cannot fight our warriors. Submit now, and we will allow your species to live as workers in our empire. Continue to resist, and we will destroy every city on your planet." The transmission paused. Everyone on Earth was waiting to hear what would happen next. In homes and shelters, families held each other tight. In military bases, soldiers checked their weapons one last time. In government bunkers, world leaders prepared to give the order that would decide the fate of humanity. Then General Davis stepped up to the microphone that would broadcast his words to the alien fleet and to every human on Earth. "War Commander Zeth Cole," he said in a steady voice. "This is General Paul Davis of the United Earth Defense Force. I have a message for you and your empire." He paused for a moment, thinking about his children and grandchildren who were listening, somewhere. "This is Earth. We do not surrender. If you want our planet, come and take it." The words echoed around the world. In the streets below the alien ships, people began to cheer. In military command centers, officers smiled grimly and prepared to fight. The die was cast. Humanity had chosen war over slavery. The alien response was immediate. Beams of bright energy shot down from the ships, striking military bases and government buildings. The weapons were incredibly powerful, turning concrete and steel into dust in seconds. But the humans were ready. Captain Parker had been waiting under the ocean for this exact moment. As soon as the alien weapons started firing, he gave the order to his submarine crews around the world. All units execute Operation Thunderbolt. Fire everything we have. Electromagnetic pulse devices that had been secretly placed on ocean floors around the planet activated simultaneously. Massive waves of electromagnetic energy shot up from the depths, hitting the alien ships from below. The pulses were designed to overload electronic systems, and they worked better than anyone had hoped. 17 alien ships suddenly went dark and began falling toward the ocean. Their perfect formations broke apart as pilots lost control of their vessels. For the first time in the battle, the aliens were the ones who were surprised. "Direct hit," shouted Captain Parker as he watched alien ships crashing into the Pacific Ocean. All submarines reload and prepare for second strike, but the aliens adapted quickly. Within minutes, the remaining ships had activated some kind of shield that blocked the electromagnetic attacks. Now, they were angry. War Commander Zethkol's voice filled the air again, but this time he sounded different. Less calm, more dangerous. "You dare to attack the Xerion Empire? You will learn the price of defiance." The alien ships began landing in major cities around the world. As their doors opened, creatures unlike anything humans had ever seen stepped out onto Earth's soil. They were tall and thin, with gray skin and large black eyes. They carried weapons that glowed with the same energy that had destroyed the military buildings. The first ground battle began in Chicago. Sergeant Maria Santos was leading a group of Marines when the aliens landed in Grant Park. She had served in Afghanistan and Iraq, but she had never faced an enemy like this. "Take cover," she shouted, as alien energy beams started cutting through buildings around them. "Use the buildings for protection and return fire." The Marines opened fire with their rifles, but the bullets seemed to bounce off some kind of invisible barrier around the aliens. The enemy soldiers moved with perfect coordination, advancing steadily while their weapons carved through concrete and steel like it was paper. But Maria had been expecting this. "Switch to Plan B," she ordered. "Use the EMP grenades." Dr. Stone's quantum disruptor technology had been built into special grenades that could be thrown by hand. When they exploded near the aliens, their protective shields flickered and failed. Suddenly, human bullets could hurt them. The first alien to fall was hit by a rifle shot from Private Danny Cross, a young soldier from Ohio who had joined the Army just 2 years ago. The alien's gray blood spread across the pavement, proving that these invaders could be killed. "They bleed," Maria shouted into her radio. "The EMP grenades work. Pass the word to all units." Around the world, the same discovery was being made. In London, British soldiers found that the aliens could be hurt once their shields were down. In Tokyo, Japanese forces learned that the invaders were not as strong as they looked. In Moscow, Russian troops discovered that alien weapons took time to recharge between shots. But the aliens had advantages too. They were faster than humans, and their weapons were devastatingly powerful. For every alien that fell, 3 or 4 humans died. The battles were desperate and bloody. Lieutenant Danny Cross had volunteered for the most dangerous mission of the war. Flying an experimental fighter jet loaded with Dr. Stone's quantum disruptor technology, he was trying to get close enough to an alien command ship to plant a bomb. "Danny, you are flying straight into their heaviest defenses," his wing commander warned over the radio. "Are you sure about this?" Danny looked at the alien ship ahead of him, bristling with weapons and surrounded by smaller fighter craft. He thought about his family back home in Ohio. He thought about every person on Earth who was counting on him. "I am sure," he said. "If this works, we might actually have a chance." His jet screamed through the sky, dodging alien fire and weaving between enemy ships. His target was a weak spot that Dr. Brooks had identified in the alien ship's design. If he could hit it with the quantum disruptor bomb, the entire vessel might be destroyed. Alien fighters swarmed around him, firing energy beams that lit up the sky. Danny's jet was hit twice, but he kept flying. He was almost at his target when an alien beam struck his engine. The jet started falling toward the ground, but Danny had one last chance for Earth. He shouted as he aimed his damaged fighter directly at the alien command ship and fired the quantum disruptor missile. The explosion was unlike anything anyone had ever seen. A ball of pure energy expanded from the alien ship, disrupting every electronic system within miles. The massive vessel broke apart and crashed into Lake Michigan, taking with it hundreds of alien soldiers and their most advanced technology. Danny's sacrifice had given humanity its first major victory, but the war was far from over. Across the planet, the battle continued to rage. Humans were learning that they could fight these invaders and win, but the cost was terrible. In her command bunker, President Carter watched the reports coming in from around the world. The aliens were powerful, but they were not invincible. Humanity had a chance if they could keep fighting long enough to find the aliens' weaknesses. The real war was just beginning. 3 weeks had passed since the aliens landed on Earth. The Xerian Empire controlled most of the big cities, but their advance had stopped. What should have been an easy conquest was turning into the hardest war they had ever fought. Dr. Lisa Brooks was hiding in an underground laboratory deep in the Colorado mountains. She had not seen sunlight for 10 days, but she had made the most important discovery of the war. Working with pieces of crashed alien ships, she had finally figured out how the Xerian technology worked. "Tom, come look at this," she called to her assistant Tom Bradley, who used to work for NASA before the invasion. "I think I know why they are so much stronger than us, and I think I know how to beat them." Tom looked at the alien device on the laboratory table. It was about the size of a computer, but it glowed with a soft blue light. "What is it?" "It is their communication system," Lisa explained. "Every alien soldier has one of these connected to their brain. They do not think for themselves. They all share the same thoughts like a hive mind. That is why they fight so well together." Tom understood immediately. So if we can break their communication network, they will not be able to coordinate their attacks. "Exactly," Lisa said. "But there is more. I have been studying the quantum patterns in their communications. Human brains work differently than alien brains. Our thoughts are more chaotic, more unpredictable. That chaos might actually be an advantage." She showed Tom a series of brain scans on her computer. "Look at this. When I connected a human volunteer to their communication system, something incredible happened. Instead of the human being controlled by the aliens, the human thoughts started, disrupting their entire network. This was the breakthrough they had been looking for. If humans could hack into the alien communication system, they could turn the Xerians' greatest advantage against them." Captain Nick Sullivan was commanding a small fleet of fishing boats, cargo ships, and pleasure yachts that had been converted into warships. The official navy had been mostly destroyed in the first week of fighting, but civilians with boats had volunteered to keep fighting on their own. "Captain, we have 20 alien supply ships heading toward the coast," reported his radar operator, a former Coast Guard officer named Pete Murphy. "They are not expecting any resistance from this direction." Nick smiled. The aliens had learned to watch out for military submarines and fighter jets, but they did not pay much attention to a bunch of old fishing boats. That was their mistake. "All ships, this is Captain Sullivan," he spoke into his radio. "Remember, hit them fast and get out. We cannot win a direct fight, but we can make them pay for every mile of our ocean." His small fleet attacked the alien convoy using tactics that no military academy had ever taught. They used civilian boats as decoys, while hidden submarines fired quantum disruptor torpedoes. They rammed alien ships with boats loaded with explosives. They even used fishing nets to tangle alien propellers. The attack lasted only 20 minutes, but when it was over, 15 alien supply ships were sinking to the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. Nick's fleet had lost only 3 boats, and those crews had been rescued by other vessels. "This is working," Nick told his officers after the battle. "The aliens have better technology, but they fight like robots. They follow patterns. Once we figure out their patterns, we can beat them." The same thing was happening all over the world. In the mountains of Afghanistan, former soldiers were using guerrilla tactics to ambush alien patrols. In the jungles of South America, Native tribes were working with military special forces to set traps for alien scouts. In the deserts of Africa, nomad fighters were disappearing into sandstorms after attacking alien bases. The aliens had expected to fight armies. Instead, they were fighting an entire planet full of people who refused to give up. But the most important battle was happening in a laboratory in Colorado. Dr. Brooks and her team had built a prototype device that could interface human brains with alien technology. The question was whether it would work, and whether any human could survive the attempt. "I will do it," said Dr. Carl Stone, who had been working with Lisa since the beginning of the war. "If this works, we might be able to end this war. If it does not work, at least we will know." Lisa shook her head. "Carl, we do not know what this will do to your brain. You could die, or worse, you could end up brain damaged." "People are dying every day fighting these aliens," Carl replied. "If there is a chance this could save lives, I have to try." The experiment took place in a secure room deep underground. Carl sat in a chair connected to both human computers and captured alien technology. Lisa and her team monitored his vital signs from behind protective glass. "Beginning interface connection," Lisa announced. "Carl, if you feel anything wrong, we will disconnect you immediately." At first, nothing happened. Then Carl's eyes went wide, and he began to shake. "I can hear them," he whispered. "I can hear all of them. Thousands of voices all thinking the same thoughts." On the computer screens around the room, alien communication patterns began to appear. The team was actually seeing inside the Xerion network for the first time. "Carl, can you understand what they are saying?" Lisa asked. "They are confused," Carl said, his voice sounding strange. "Something is wrong with their network. There are disruptions they cannot explain. Wait, they are talking about Earth. They are scared." This was incredible news. The mighty Xerion Empire was scared of humans. "They have never fought a war like this before," Carl continued. "Every other species they conquered gave up after the first battle. They do not know how to fight an enemy that keeps getting stronger instead of weaker." Lisa could see that the connection was putting enormous strain on Carl's brain. His heart rate was dangerously high and his blood pressure was spiking. "Carl, we need to disconnect you before this kills you," she said. "Wait," Carl gasped. "I can see their command ship. It is in orbit above the Pacific Ocean. If we can get close to it, I think I can hack into their main computer and shut down their entire fleet." That was the information they needed, but Carl collapsed as soon as they disconnected him from the alien system. He was unconscious for 6 hours, and when he woke up, he could barely remember his own name. But he had given humanity the key to victory. Admiral Kate Nelson received the message from Dr. Brooks just as she was planning another desperate attack on alien positions. Instead of attacking ground targets, she was now being asked to do something that seemed impossible. She needed to get close to the main alien command ship in orbit. "Admiral, this is suicide," her second-in-command told her. "That ship is protected by the entire alien fleet. We will never get close enough." Kate looked at the photographs of the alien command ship. It was bigger than a city, floating in space like a metal moon. Getting close to it would indeed be suicide for any normal attack, but this was not a normal attack. "We are not going to fight our way to that ship," she told her officers. "We are going to sneak up on it." Her plan was crazy, but it might work. Using stealth technology and the cover of Earth's moon, a small squadron of modified spacecraft would try to approach the alien command ship without being detected. If they could get close enough, Dr. Stone would attempt to hack into the alien network and shut down their entire invasion force. The mission was so dangerous that Kate asked for volunteers only. She expected maybe a dozen people to step forward. Instead, over 200 pilots volunteered for what everyone knew was probably a one-way trip. Lieutenant Danny Cross had survived his earlier crash and was eager to fly again. "Admiral, I have already died once fighting these aliens. If this can end the war, then let me do it. The mission would launch in 24 hours. If it succeeded, the war might be over. If it failed, humanity would have lost its best chance to defeat the invasion." As Kate prepared for what might be the most important battle in human history, She thought about how much had changed in just 3 weeks. The aliens had come to Earth, expecting an easy victory over a primitive species. Instead, they had found themselves fighting the hardest war of their existence against an enemy that refused to quit. Tomorrow would decide whether humanity would remain free or become slaves to an alien empire. The fate of Earth hung in the balance. The final battle did not happen the way anyone expected. Admiral Kate Nelson and her small fleet were heading toward the alien command ship when something incredible happened. The aliens called for a meeting. "Human commanders," came the voice of War Commander Zeth Cole over the radio. "We wish to speak before more blood is spilled. Your species has surprised us. We did not expect such resistance from a primitive world." Kate looked at her officers in confusion. In all her military training, she had never heard of aliens asking for a meeting in the middle of a war. This could be a trap, her second-in-command warned. But President Carter, listening from her bunker in Washington, made the decision for everyone. "Admiral Nelson, accept their meeting request, but keep your weapons ready. If this is a trick, we fight to the end." The meeting took place on a small space station that had been abandoned during the first week of fighting. Admiral Nelson, General Davis, and Dr. Brooks represented humanity. War Commander Zethkol came with 2 other alien officers. The alien commander was not what anyone had expected. He was tall and thin like his soldiers, but his gray skin had strange markings that seemed to glow softly. His large black eyes showed something that looked almost like respect. "In 3,000 years of conquest," Zethkol began, "the Zarion Empire has never faced an enemy like humanity. Every other species surrendered after seeing our power. You are the first to grow stronger, during battle instead of weaker." General Davis leaned forward in his chair. "Are you asking us to surrender?" "No," the alien commander replied. "I am asking you to teach us." Dr. Brooks could not believe what she was hearing. "Teach you what?" "How to fight like humans do," Zethkol explained. "Your species does something we have never seen before. When faced with superior technology, you do not give up. You adapt, you change, you become more dangerous. Our scientists cannot understand how this is possible." Admiral Nelson spoke up. "Are you saying you want to learn from us?" "More than that," Zethkol said. "The Zarion Empire has been fighting the same wars for centuries. We conquer species that cannot resist us and they become workers in our empire. But we have never grown stronger from battle. We have never learned to be better fighters. You have shown us something new." The alien commander paused and looked at each human in the room. 3 weeks ago, we came to add another conquered world to our empire. Today, we realize that some species are too valuable to be mere slaves. We wish to offer humanity something we have never offered before. "What?" General Davis asked. "Partnership," Zethkol replied. "Join the Zarion Empire not as subjects but as equals. Help us learn to fight the way humans fight. In return, we will share our technology and protect your world from other threats in the galaxy." Dr. Brooks was the first to understand what this meant. "You are saying there are other alien empires out there? Other threats?" "Many," Zethkol confirmed. "The galaxy is not a peaceful place. There are empires much larger and more dangerous than ours. Until now, we thought the Zarion way of fighting was the only way. But your species has shown us that there are better methods." President Carter, listening through a secure communication link, spoke up. "What guarantee do we have that you will keep your word? How do we know this is not just another way to conquer us?" Zethkol did something none of the humans expected. He removed his weapon and placed it on the table between them. Then he did something even more surprising. He smiled. "Humans have already conquered us," he said. "Not with weapons, but with ideas. Our young warriors are asking questions they have never asked before. They want to know why humans fight so hard for their freedom. They want to learn to think like humans think." Admiral Nelson realized what was happening. "You are not just offering us partnership. You are asking us to change your entire empire." "Yes," Zethkol admitted. "For 3,000 years, the Zarion Empire has grown through conquest and fear, but we have never grown through learning. Your species has shown us a better way." The negotiations continued for 3 days. During that time, something amazing happened on Earth. Human and alien soldiers began working together to repair the damage from the war. Alien doctors helped treat human wounded. Human engineers showed aliens how to fix their damaged ships using materials found on Earth. Dr. Carl Stone, still recovering from his experiment with alien technology, made another breakthrough. Working with Xerion scientists, he discovered that human creativity and alien technology could create things that neither species could build alone. "Look at this," he showed Dr. Brooks excitedly. "By combining human intuition with alien precision, we can build spacecraft that are twice as fast as anything the Xerions had before. We can create weapons that are more effective than anything either of our species has ever made." The proof of this new partnership came when another alien empire, called the Vorth Collective, attacked a Xerion colony near Earth. The Vorth had heard about the human resistance and wanted to test whether the Xerion Empire had been weakened. By their defeat, Captain Nick Sullivan, now commanding a hybrid human-alien warship, led the defense of the colony. His crew included both humans and Xerions working together. When the Vorth ships attacked, they expected to find the same old Xerion tactics they had faced before. Instead, they encountered something completely new. Human unpredictability combined with alien technology created a fighting force unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Captain Sullivan's ship used tactics that no alien empire could predict or counter. "Human vessel," transmitted the Vorth commander after his fleet had been destroyed. "What species are you? Your fighting methods are unknown to us." "We are the newest members of the Xerion Empire," Nick replied, "and we fight like humans." Word of the victory spread quickly through the galaxy. Other alien empires began to take notice of the strange new partnership between humans and Xerions. 1 year after the invasion, a ceremony took place on a space station built in orbit around Earth. President Carter, now serving as Earth's first ambassador to the Galactic Council, signed a treaty that would change the galaxy forever. The Treaty of Sol established humanity as full partners in the Xerion Empire, with the right to govern themselves and share in all alien technology. In return, humans would help train Xerion warriors and share their knowledge of adaptive combat tactics. Admiral Nelson, now commanding the first human deep space exploration fleet, prepared to lead humanity's expansion into the galaxy. Her ships were crewed by both humans and aliens working together as equals. "Admiral," asked her communications officer, a young alien named Kethmore, who had requested to serve under human command, "what makes humans such good fighters?" Kate thought about the question as she looked out at the stars. "We do not fight just to win battles," she said. "We fight for things we believe in. Freedom, family, home. When you fight for something bigger than yourself, you become stronger than you ever thought possible." General Davis, reviewing the final casualty reports from the war, found something remarkable. Despite being outgunned and outnumbered, humanity had not only survived but had grown stronger. The war had united every nation on Earth and turned humanity into a spacefaring civilization in just a few months. Captain Sullivan, now exploring uncharted systems with his mixed human-alien crew, sent a message back to Earth that summed up what had happened. "Mission Control. This is Captain Sullivan, aboard the UES Pioneer. We are not just representing Earth anymore. We are representing a new way of thinking that is spreading across the galaxy. The Xerions came to conquer us, but we ended up conquering them with ideas instead of weapons." War Commander Zethkol, now serving as humanity's partner rather than their enemy, had the final word. "The Xerion Empire came to Earth expecting to find another weak species to add to our collection. Instead, we found teachers who showed us that true strength comes not from the power to destroy, but from the will to protect what you love." The invasion of Earth had lasted only 1 month, but it changed the entire galaxy. Humanity had received one warning from an alien empire, but in the end, it was humanity that taught the galaxy a lesson it would never forget. Some species do not surrender. Some species fight back. And some species are strong enough to turn their enemies into friends.